Video. I'm ranking transfers from the summer 2023 transfer window. I'm only doing transfers that are confirmed by Mr. Fabrizio Romano at the time of this video. An unbiased, objective view of the transfer, taking into account how much it was worth, the type of player that's being signed, for how long, the age, how they will fit in the team. Kai Havertz, for me, it's a poor signing. This is actually the complete opposite of Declan Rice. 70 million, too expensive. Doesn't have the best CV at Chelsea. Yes, he scored in the Champions League final, but someone said if Havertz didn't score that in that Champions League final, he will be flipping burgers. And we know for now he's on 002, chasing the 007. Liverpool, McAllister, I am specifically going to give him my first perfect rating of the evening. At 35 million, he was a complete bargain, a steal. World Cup winner. We saw how good he was last season, not just at the World Cup, but also in the Premier League with Brighton, who finished 6th. So incredible piece of business by Liverpool, to be honest. Rasmus Højlund, who is he? That's the first question. That's what someone asked me. Who is that guy? I know he's young, but he goes for 70 million from Atalanta. Balogun from Arsenal, who played in League One last season, had more goals than Rasmus Højlund. If Kane, went for 100 million plus, a few millions in add-ons, why didn't United then break the bank for him? They could have used the Mason Mount and Rasmus Højlund money to go get a striker when they know they need a striker. Bellingham, also slot him in the perfect rating. I think he's one of the only players that I would agree with the 100 million price tag. He can do it all. He can defend, he can dribble, he can pass, he can score, he works hard, he's got great leadership qualities. He is definitely one for the future, and I think he fits Real Madrid absolutely perfect to take over the legacy from Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. I really think he's the best young midfielder in the world. So because of that, I give him a perfect rating. Great business by Real Madrid. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's KG with We Are Football, and today I'm back with a really good video. I'm ranking transfers from the summer 2023 transfer window. I'm only doing transfers that are confirmed by Mr. Fabrizio Romano at the time of this video, of course. And I'm just doing a few marquee transfers per club. So let's get into it. The tier list that I'm using is a scale of perfect, amazing, great, good, average, and poor. So we're looking at an unbiased, objective view of the transfer, taking into account how much it was worth, the type of player that's being signed, for how long, the age, how they will fit in the team. So just taking into account all of that in a, like I said, unbiased way. Let's get into it. Firstly, we'll start off with Arsenal, right? Okay, Declan Rice. I think I'll go in ahead and slot him in the amazing. I'm giving him an amazing signing. Yes, I know that the fee was a little bit steep. That's the only reason why it's not perfect. But I think he fits in Arteta's plans. I think it's a player that Arsenal need. He makes the team stronger. So easily fits into the amazing rating for me. He just led West Ham at his young age to a conference trophy. And now they're in Europa League. I think he will do well in Arsenal. I think he scores a few goals as well, gets a few assists when he pushes forward. He's a hard worker. He's not the most technical, but you know what you're going to get out of him. So strictly, so for me, amazing signing. Next, Kai Havertz. For me, it's a poor signing. This is actually the complete opposite of Declan Rice. 70 million, too expensive. Doesn't have the best CV at Chelsea. Yes, he scored in the Champions League final, but someone said if Havertz didn't score that in that Champions League final, he will be flipping burgers. And we know for now he's on 002, chasing the 007. I don't understand what Mikel Arteta actually saw in this. I didn't know if he was going to play false nine, because I'd have Jesus there all day in front of him. I'll even start Nketiah in that position in front of him. And then it's like he can't play on the right because that's Saka's position. He can't play on the left. There's Trossard already on the bench for Martinelli for that. In the middle, there's Odegaard. Rice has just been bought. Parties there. I just don't understand what he adds to the team. So because of that, and with the first few games that we've seen, I'm sticking him into the poor rating. Timber, I think, is a good signing. I don't know much about him, but I think he makes Arsenal's defense stronger. Arsenal did concede quite a few goals last season. Zinchenko was always injured. In a lot of parts of the season, Zinchenko is always injured. So I think he's good cover. He might be even starting when everyone is fit. But we'll see. We'll see. However, young, exciting from Ajax, Champions League experience, I think is a good signing, especially for the price. Next, we'll go to Liverpool. So Szoboszlai, I think, is a great signing. I personally believe he's going to light up the Premier League. I haven't watched too much of Leipzig besides in the Champions League, but I know I've seen him with his Hungarian team. I've watched a few Euro and Nation Cup games where Hungary were just on fire, challenging England and Germany and beating them. And everyone in that team played, and as their number 10, he's quality. I think he's technically gifted, and I think he will be great for the Liverpool team. 70 million and not too steep. Release clause trigger. Liverpool definitely needed midfielders, and this is one that they got, and I think it's a great signing. And speaking of Liverpool, McAllister, I am specifically going to give him my first perfect rating of the evening. At 35 million, he was a complete bargain. A steal. World Cup winner. We saw how good he was last season, not just at the World Cup, but also in the Premier League with Brighton, who finished 6th. So incredible piece of business by Liverpool, to be honest. For that, goes straight into the perfect category for me. And then Endo, also a relatively new signing. I would say it's an average signing. We don't know much about him. Klopp is trying all he can to get us to be convinced with him. 30 years old, not one for the future. Came in at 18 million, a good, cheap buy. So it's not, too steep or anything, but we don't know much about him. From a Stuttgart team that was struggling last season, fighting relegation. However, apparently he was one of the best center defensive midfielders in the Bundesliga, but we don't know too much about him. But because of that, I'd go with average. Also, just because he wasn't Liverpool's priority, it feels like a panic or forced buy. Lost out on Moises Caicedo and Lavia to Chelsea. So because of that, just a little bit average for me. Anyway, now seems like at least I've populated all categories. We have some sort of benchmark or comparison with future transfers. Man United. Mason Mount. I'm tempted to put him in the poor category, to be honest. However, I feel like I saw what Ten Hag was going for, although it was a bit steep for someone who had a year left on his contract. He's also had a very bad start to the season. I did think on paper he could regain his form. I think without the previous poor season, Mount does have quality, and he can be consistent, and he can be a very good number 8. Works hard, contributes with goals and assists, but he's far from his best right now. And because of that, I would put him in average, not necessarily poor, but I would say it's an average signing, and I just don't know what we're gonna get from Man United as a whole. I believe if Man United actually perform this season, that might be directly linked to Mason Mount's performance, and vice versa, of course. Rasmus Højlund, who is he? That's the first question. That's what someone asked me. Who is that guy? I know he's young, but he goes for 70 million from Atalanta. Balogun from Arsenal, who played in League One last season, had more goals than Rasmus Holland. If Kane, went for 100 million plus, a few millions in add-ons, why didn't United then break the bank for him? They could have used the Mason Mount and Rasmus Holland money to go get a striker when they know they need a striker. Yes, they do need a number 9, but I don't think this one is proven. He's for the future. We don't know much about him. I think it's a very, very risky buy. I think there were better options out there. And with that being said, I'm going to put it in the poor category. However, Onana, I think this might be a little bit controversial, but I think it's a perfect signing, specifically for Man United. They needed a keeper. They needed a reliable keeper, specifically a reliable keeper. David De Gea somehow he won the Golden Glove last season, but he had so many mistakes, so many errors leading to goals. You never know what we're going to get from David De Gea, but we know Onana comes from a fantastic season with Inter, finished in the Champions League final. He was fantastic with Ajax as well in their Champions League runs. He can play out from the back. He's beautiful with the ball at his feet, and he makes great saves as well. So because of that, at about 45 million, I think he's a perfect fit for Man United, and he gets my perfect rating. Skipping to Real Madrid, Bellingham, also slot him in the perfect rating. I think he's one of the only players that I would agree with the 100 million price tag. He can do it all. He can defend, he can dribble, he can pass, he can score, he works hard, he's got great leadership qualities. He is definitely one for the future, and I think he fits Real Madrid absolutely perfect to take over the legacy from Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. I really think he's the best young midfielder in the world. So because of that, I give him a perfect rating. Great business by Real Madrid. However, Kepa, I think is average. Obviously a forced buy because of Courtois' injury. A loan, so not necessarily an actual transfer, a loan with an option to buy. But for one season, Kepa did start off at Chelsea really well. He had that controversy with him trying to be coach, as well as in the previous season. In the previous season, he's been poor, so he does, go through a bad space or a bad time where he has poor form. However, he does make good saves here and there, so I think it's an average buy. I see where Real Madrid is coming from. Maybe coming back home to Spain, he'll regain his form when he hit the heights previously while he was in La Liga. So I think it's an average buy. Barcelona's only player, I only have Gundogan as Barcelona's only transfer here. I think he's an amazing signing. Yes, he's a little bit old. He's not one for the future, but they're getting Gundogan at the peak of his powers. We know absolutely how critical he was with Manchester City in the title runs. He's Mr. Clutch himself, very underrated midfielder, and therefore for getting him for free, Barcelona, amazing piece of business. Speaking of players from Man City, we'll go to Man City now. Guardiola, I think it's also an amazing signing. One of the best young centre-backs, up and coming at 21, just cost a little bit over or around what Harry Maguire cost actually. And because of that, he can play left back, he can play centre back. He's absolutely robust. I think he's one of the best young defenders in the world and will continue to develop under Pep Guardiola to be the best. I just have an issue with the fact that I don't think Man City needed another defender. I mean, that's going to push either one classy centre back on the bench. We know Cancelo's leaving. But there's Walker, Stones, who sometimes now play CDM. Akanji was bought last season. Nathan Ake is also there. Ruben Diaz. Okay, Laporte is leaving or is just left actually. But I didn't necessarily see a need for another centre back. So that's my only critical point. However, Kovacic, I would also say he's an amazing signing, considering what Mason Mount and Kai Havertz went from for Chelsea at 25 million with 5 million add-ons. Absolute steal with what would be considered one of Chelsea's best player in the past few years, especially last seasons where they were poor. Yes, he's not a Gundogan. You're not going to get crazy amount of goals and assists, but you'll get consistency. He's a Duracell bunny. He'll run up and down the pitch. He'll put in the work rate. He'll put in tackles, and he can keep the ball. So because of that, smart business by Man City, good replacement. Although it does again question the need for another central midfielder. Calvin Phillips is already there. What's the plan with him? But that's another conversation. Then James Maddison from Spurs. I am giving him a perfect rating. I think Spurs did an amazing piece of business with this one. One of the chief creators, one of the best number 10s in the Premier League. His CV speaks for himself at a Leicester team, which just got relegated last season, and he wasn't too bad last season himself. He was available for about 40-45 million. Man United could have gone for him. Liverpool could have gone for him. They needed midfielders, and it's amazing how he was overlooked. But for me, perfect signing. Sandro Tonali, Newcastle, I'm going to give him an amazing rating. The next Pirlo, he controls the game. His passing range is absolutely superb. You know what you're going to get from him. And not necessarily goals and assists. He's not that type of player, but he can run a game. And I think we've seen it in the first few games of the Premier League, his quality. And I think he'll be absolutely a tremendous signing for Newcastle. 70 million, I think it was his worth. He was the gem of Serie A. So once again, amazing piece of business by Newcastle. Javi Barnes, however, I would say maybe just a great signing from Newcastle. Yes, he was good with Leicester as well. You know what you're going to get from Javi Barnes. But the issue is just a little bit of consistency. But he is quality. And if he starts, I think he will deliver for Newcastle. So I would just, short comment there. I would say it's a great signing, especially for the price. On to Chelsea. Christopher Nkunku, yes, he's injured for a few months, but when Chelsea did this business actually quite long ago, but he's considered the signing for the summer, so I've included him. I think it's an amazing piece of business. He can play anywhere in the front three. He has goals in him. He has assists in him. He can play false nine. He can play on the left. He can play on the right. I think he pushed Leipzig to be what they are and to be where they got last season. He obviously just missed out on the World Cup because of injuries when he was completely at the peak of his powers, and I think he finished top goal scorer last season in the Bundesliga. Amazing signing by Chelsea. He could have went for crazy money, but it didn't. They got him early enough. So yeah, for me that concludes it. On to Lavia, though, I think this is specifically an average signing. Might be controversial. I know Liverpool were fighting for him together with Chelsea. Southampton were holding out for 50 million. I honestly don't see it. I don't necessarily see how he's worth 50 million. I don't know. He doesn't. I know one goal that he scored in the Premier League. I don't know what he gives you. We complain about Declan Rice, but Southampton got relegated. I'm not saying that, he was specifically to blame, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all players were at the peak of their powers, especially defensively. And I think as a CDM, I don't understand the hype yet. So I'll go and give him an average rating. I would say, however, the difference is Moises Caicedo, I'd give him a great rating. The only thing is Chelsea, pushed it too much and went into a bidding war with Liverpool again, inflating his price to 115 million, which is a little bit steep, not very smart, transfer business. When they were moving, they could have got this signing settled a long time ago. However, it is a great signing. He had a great season with Brighton. Brighton knew his value, especially because they compared him to Declan Rice, so they wanted a similar amount of money. Brighton finished 6th. So great signing. I would say great signing. Not necessarily, mind-blowing, but I think it's a great signing. He has had a shocker of a debut, though. Absolute meh. But besides the disaster class, I think he'll be good for Chelsea. He'll come good. Desasi, however, 45 million centre-back from Monaco. Also a forced buy, almost a panic buy because of the Wesley Fofana injury. I am saying this is a poor signing. We don't know much about Disasi. It's not like Monaco were amazing or anything last season. It's not like they finished in Champions League or anything like that. He had outstanding performances. No, we don't know anything about him. I really question the scouting of Chelsea these days. But because they just buy, and Mudryk is one case where they probably bought off the hype, or they bought because they needed a player to come in, and Arsenal were in for him. Didn't do much research himself, and it's not working out at the moment. And I think this might be another case of bad transfer business. So I'm giving Disasi and Chelsea a poor rating. Nicholas Jackson, however, I think he's good. Nicholas Jackson didn't promise to win the Golden Boot, and what we've seen for him so far, his overall play for me has been pretty impressive. 30 million from Villarreal. Villarreal at least is a team that we've seen perform in La Liga and in the Champions League and in Europa League over the past few years. I think he's a good signing, and I think he fits Chelsea at the moment. He just needs to get his shooting boots on, and then maybe, he will win more hearts of Chelsea fans, because they still believe they need a striker. Onto Bayern Munich with the Harry Kane transfer. I would say it's an amazing rating. Not necessarily perfect. Yes, Harry Kane scored 30 goals in a very, very poor Spurs team. Some say it's more impressive than Haaland breaking the goal scoring record, because he plays for City and there's Kevin De Bruyne and he's going to get lots of chances. But what Harry Kane did last season was legendary. And because of that, Bayern got him at the peak of his powers. Yes, he's 30 years old, 100 million plus 20, that's steep. This only works out if they basically really only win Champions League, because they've been winning Bundesliga for the last 11 years. So it's not like that changes anything specifically. Kane CV is proven. Yes, without trophies, but individually, he's an amazing striker, one of the best number 9s of the Premier League in history. So I'm giving Bayern an amazing rating with that one. Great business by Thomas Tuchel. He was available. Chelsea could have went out and got him. Man United could have went out and got him. He was available, and they didn't want to break the bank. So amazing rating goes to Thomas Tuchel on that transfer. Tielemans on a free for Aston Villa. Great signing. Absolutely great signing. Tielemans is class. Tielemans is quality. Yes, consistency is a bit of an issue, but simply we know Tielemans. We know what he gives you. He can sometimes run a game, control the midfield. He's got goals in him. On a free, great business by Aston Villa. That gets my rating. James Ward-Prowse, amazing. James Ward-Prowse is amazing. When James Ward-Prowse is on a set piece, it's dangerous. So there's a stat that's mind-blowing. No one besides Messi has scored more free kicks than James Ward-Prowse over the past few years. That's insane. He is a dead ball specialist. Yes, he went down with Southampton, but James Ward-Prowse was always class. And for me, that's an amazing signing. Once again, another midfielder that was available for teams that needed midfielders.
Hey, you are shaking, my brother. Man, my brother, you are shaking.
Leon Bailey, don't know too much about him. Sorry, he is a good player based on what's happened in the Bundesliga. Of course, we don't want to test Bundesliga tax again, but he's come in and slot in Unai Emery's side so brilliantly, and for what he went for, I think it's a great signing, and it's definitely one to watch this season. However, going back to Chelsea, Sanchez, this is poor business by Chelsea. They didn't buy him with the intention of him being number 1, but he now is playing as Chelsea's number 1, and he's not necessarily good enough. I don't think he is at the level that he could be relied upon game in, game out, week in, week out. He got dropped by De Zerbi at Brighton, and Chelsea then bought him. Like that doesn't necessarily make sense. And I think as backup maybe was okay, but because of what's happened with Kepa leaving, he's become Chelsea's number one, and that's poor business by Chelsea. PSG, Dembele, I've gone with a good rating. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's injury prone. He spends more time actually not playing. For 20 million per year, that is insane. I don't know how PSG is giving Saudi Arabia type of money to Dembele. He hasn't done anything to prove it. He didn't live up to his huge 140 million or 130 million, price tag at Barcelona. But they got him on a good deal. They only got him for about 50 million, so they've saved a lot, and that's probably about his worth. And if he plays more, maybe he can deliver. So I've went with just a really good signing from PSG. Onto Inter, I've combined Arnautovic and Juan Cuadrado. I think that's also just a good signing. They are quality players, we know that they are, but they're aging, so they're not necessarily ones for the future. Arnautovic is a goal scorer, he's aggressive in attack. Cuadrado is very versatile, can play wing, can play right back, right wing back. So because of that, I think they fit the type of business that Inter do: buy cheap, sell higher, try to save up, maybe buy more proven older players, use what's left of them. That's the type of deals that they do. So because of that, it's typical Inter Milan type of deal. So good deals for them. AC Milan, let's go to the neighbors. Pulisic, I think, is an average signing. He could go there and blow up Serie A if he stays fit, but we know he comes with a very bad track record of injuries. And with Chelsea, he just goes through a phase sometimes towards the end of the season, maybe, or with the USA. Sometimes he turns it on with the USA, but just generally you can't rely on him over an extended period of time. And because of that, I went with just an average signing. Marco Asensio back to PSG. I think it's a good signing as well. I think got him for free. If not free, it was absolute peanuts from Real Madrid. Yes, he's not necessarily started living up to his potential. Asensio, he started dropping, but I think it's just a good signing from PSG. He is quality, he can hold on to the ball, he can play. We know how he plays in Spain. He can be useful for Luis Enrique, who coached him in Spain. So because of that, I'm just going with a good signing. King Min Jae back to Bayern Munich. This is a great signing. Got him for 45 million, I think. I might be mistaken. From Napoli, title-winning Serie A side, one of the defenders of the season in Serie A. Kim Min Jae, also quite young. I think it's a great signing by Bayern Munich. I think there are a lot of teams who are looking at him, so great signing from Bayern Munich. Loftus-Cheek, AC Milan, I'm sorry, that's poor. I don't know what they want. It's like AC Milan and Inter Milan are also just budget buying, and I don't know what Loftus-Cheek is going to offer AC Milan that they don't necessarily have already. You can't sell Tonali and replace him with Loftus-Cheek when clearly Chelsea fans had a huge issue with him over the past few seasons. So he doesn't come with a great reputation, and for that, I'd say very risky purchase, poor signing. And Skriniar for PSG. We know Skriniar had been good in Serie A for a while, part of title-winning Inter team. I think just based on that, one of the defenders of the season, he was on everyone's radar a few years ago, and I don't know what happened. It just somehow his light dimmed down. But it's a good signing from PSG, and I think he'll stay there for a while and play some of his maybe best football if he gets back. Let me know. I enjoyed that. I think I did a good job with my rating. My final tier list looks good. My tier list looks really good. I'm proud of that one. I enjoyed that. Let me know where you disagree. Comment. Let me know I got it spot on, but I think I really did a good job in this one. Something new, something interesting. I haven't seen it being done before. So Besides that, see you guys on